Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Sophie. I have a doctorate in literature, which means I get way too emotionally invested in the shows that we're watching. So if that sounds like something you will enjoy, why don't you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video? Today, we're reacting to episode 19 of Monster. Last episode, we saw some insight into what happened with Anna when she left Tenma and how she learned how to handle a gun, but also that she was initially going to get the hitman to train her, but then she saw how much he had changed and how connected he was to humanity and his emotions. She didn't want to drag him back into that. And he left her with a warning that it is easy to kill someone if you dehumanize them. And the issue is that it's not easy to do so. It's not easy to switch that part of your brain off. And I don't think that's something she can do, hence why she was crying. I think it's coming to that realization that she'll have to carry the weight of killing her brother on her hands. And it's whether she can learn to live with it or whether it's just going to haunt her for the rest of her days. But I don't think she's going to be able to do it. I think she's going to feel more connected to him the more that she learns. But it will be interesting to see if she meets up with Temba again, because their paths just kind of intersect from time to time. We don't know where Temba has gone, and it was him, Heckle, and Dieter on the boat. They saw the message, and then that was kind of where we left off with Temba. So without further ado, we're going to jump into episode 19.
私は3年前に離婚してね。いや、正確には妻に逃げられたんだがね。何しろ私は妻の言葉に耳を傾けるよりもこっちに耳を傾けているのがほとんどだったからね。妻は私にこう言ったよ。あなたはただ人の心を覗くコレクターだとね。
ドクター、あんた異常だよ。
かもしれないな。
Is he a
人の心の
psychologist?
奥底に潜む深い淵を覗き込むという作業は私自身もその深い淵に沈み込むという可能性をはらんでいるからね。で、
That he feels
4
himself
番目の
too
被害者は
connected
18歳の
to
ミュンヘン
it?
の女性だったね。彼女を切り刻んだ
Like
時
invested
性的
in the
興奮を
crime?
覚えたかい？
そんなことより12番目の殺人について聞いてくれ。
クロップハウスのハンナ・ケンプ夫人、52歳だね。
あの時、俺は。
いや、この件は話さなくていい。いずれ聞くことにはなるだろうが、今はその前の11件に関しての話が聞きたいんだ。では聞こう。
He's like, I want to
君
hear
の
it
性
in
的興
order.
奮のピークは殺人を犯す前なのか、後なのか。
Is he wanting to see how he escalates? So is the connection going to be that Temba
以上のように
speaks
被
with
害
him
者は16歳から18歳の長髪の少女に限られた。
to maybe try
明
and
らか
find
に
a
セッ
pattern
クス
with
殺人の
Johan?
カテゴ
Because
リーに
Johan
属する
kills
犯罪である。
middle-aged
ただ
rich
し彼は12件
couples.
目の殺人も自白している。しかしこの件の被害者であるケンプ夫人は52歳と高齢の上、セックスの跡がない。
It doesn't
また
match the
これを
pattern.
友人の依頼で行ったと語ることによって捜査攪乱を引き起こさせ、
Oh, could this be it was done at the request of a friend? Johan? But then surely there should be a guy as well, because it's always couples.
そこにいるのは誰だ？
私だよ、ルーディ。
It is Tenma.
天馬。
He wants some insight into why Johan kills, what drives him, and the pattern.
私が連続殺人犯だと思うか？
わからん。新聞やテレビ、大学時代の友人同士の噂だけではね。
Oh, he actually has to speak to people to determine it?
私たちは仲が良かったわけじゃない。それどころか君は私を軽蔑していた。君と目が合うたびに思ったよ。君は私を軽蔑しているとね。
I mean, he's coming across a bit like a weird guy. He seems very controlling, but he also talks about his biggest issue is that he peeks into the hearts of people and their minds, but he often finds himself like falling deeper into it, like investing himself too much into it. Which is why I'm like, why is he so odd about it having to be in a specific order? It's almost like he's controlling the dynamic, but I don't know, sometimes you hear about this, like, psychologists that get off on, like, reliving their patient's trauma or their crimes. I'm not saying that that's the case with him, but it wouldn't shock me if sort of there's this weird boundary crossing that's happening where like he is almost living vicariously through the criminals and needs everything to be done a specific way. But then again, it could also be that in learning about it in order, because obviously there were 12 victims in total, you can identify patterns and escalation and differences in sexual arousal, what led to him killing, what were the trigger points, because they constantly talk about this with like serial killers. There's moments that they call triggers. There's something that causes them to just snap and they have to go out and kill to relieve that pressure. It's like a compulsion, but there will always be something that kind of triggers them to go out and do it on that specific day, that specific victim. Sometimes it is chance, the victim they select, but usually there is a pattern. As he was saying, the only one that doesn't fit is the older woman. All the others are younger girls and have similar type hair color, similar type hair length. That's the point he's making, is that the older woman is the odd one out. Because with serial killers, the way that you know they're a serial killer is because of the pattern, because of recognizing how they target their victims. A bit like how Ted Bundy always went for girls with dark hair. And it got to the point where girls were purposely bleaching their hair blonde and cutting their hair short in order to evade his attention, because they were so petrified because all of his victims had dark, long hair. So it became sort of this recognizable pattern that they were around a certain age. They were mostly university students. They had long, dark hair. So girls around that age in universities started trying to put him off by not meeting his profile. So Temba is obviously visiting because he wants to try and get a profile done on Johan. Why Johan kills, why Johan targets middle-aged couples. What is he seeking in choosing them as his targets? Like, what is the purpose for it? Is it like taking revenge on surrogate parental figures, that it's not the couples per se, but what they represent in his mind? Maybe trauma from his childhood of actual parental figures that maybe have abused him. Who knows? Either way, this guy is giving me really odd vibes. There's something off about him. And once more, we have another husband that's been left by his wife because he's too invested in work. I think this is like the third one now. Insane.
あの時の借りを返せというわけだな。金かい。
いや、違うんだ。君は犯罪心理学の権威だと聞いている。その君に見てもらいたいものがあるんだ。
僕を見て、僕を見て、僕の中のモンスターがこんなに大きくなったよ、ドクター・テンマ。助けて、僕の中のモンスターが破裂しそうだ。なんだよ、これは。
Is he gonna think this is Temba? Like, is he gonna think Temba is like split personality or schizophrenic? That Temba is actually
一刻
Johan?
も早く彼を探し出さなきゃならない。
そして一刻も早く君の身の潔白を証明したい。
I feel like he's not going to be helpful.
ある名門大学医学部にトップでなければ気が済まない男がいた。ところが一人の日本人学生が編入し、男の立場は一変した。
Oh, he was
彼
jealous
は
and
社交的
envious
で
of
すぐ
Temba.
みんなの人望を集めた。おまけに成績優秀。それまでトップを走っていた男を前期試験であっさり引きずり下ろしたんだ。後期試験。男はトップの座を
But
奪
he
還す
didn't
るの
look
に必死
down
になっ
at
た。
you. You just
それまで
were
の科目は完
insecure.
璧だった。
You
とこ
saw
ろ
him
が
as competition and
最後
got
のテス
pissed
トは
off that
男が
he
大
was
の
better
苦手
than
とす
you.
る法医学概論だった。これを落としたら今までの努力は水の泡だ。男は最後の手段に出た。
He cheated.
これでトップの座はいただきだ。ところがだが
It's
日
not that
本
he
人は
looked
それを
down
誰
on
にも言わ
you,
なかった。
but
結
you
果男は
felt
見事に
like
トップ
he
に
had
返り咲い
contempt
た。
for you because he caught you cheating. It's your own guilty conscience because you know
それ
you
で
didn't
その2つのメッ
actually
セージから何か
do it
分
off
かる
your
ことは
own
ないか。
back.
君の言うところの多重人格か。君はある人格が犯罪を犯し、別のある
It's
人
not
格が
split
それを止めよう
personality.
としていると言いたいんだね。
No.
確かに連続殺人者の犯行現場にこの手のメッセージが残された例
I
は
think that's too
だ
simplistic
が
for it to be
時
split
としてそれは
personality
罪を
and a
逃れる
little
ための方
cliche.
便の可能性もある。大抵の人は連続殺人犯が内向的な人間だと誤解してい
Oh
るが
no, they're
それは大間
charismatic.
違いだ。彼らの中には知能が高く社交的で話のうまい人間もいる。
They have families, they appear like normal people. That's the issue. They're very good at
私
pretending
は
to be
彼に
normal.
もてあそばれているのか。
まあ待ちたまえ結論を急ぐのは良くない。もっとゆっくりヨハンの話を聞かせてくれないか。実は3年前に離婚してね。いや、正確には妻に逃げられたんだがね。
Why does he say the same thing again and again? That's so weird.
徹底的に研究してみたい。1週間もしたら連絡をくれ。
He always
この
starts
男
the same
どう
way.
思う？
よくわかるよ。
おお、それはどういう点でだい？
Surely this breaks some
怪物。
なるほど。
patient
怪
confidentiality.
物はいるか。
I mean, Tenma's not really his
確か
patient,
にい
but
るよ。
still.
君の中にも彼の中にも私の中にだって怪物はいる。
机上の論理だ。
何？
怪物はこの世に存在すると言っているんだ。
なんだその目は。そういう目で私を見るな。私は軽蔑されるのが嫌いだ。
Oh, damn. No emotion on his face whatsoever.
怖いか？
He's feeding off of his fear.
だがな、世の中にはもっと恐ろしいものがあるんだ。いいことを教えてやるよ。
奴は確実にあなたの元へやってくるんでしょうな。
必ず来ます。その時は直ち
What
に
the
連絡しますよ。
Dude, he never
大砲
told
も
on
彼
you
を
for cheating
私
on
の
your
研究材料
test.
として提供していただきたい。非常に興味深い犯罪者なのでね。
He thinks
あの
he's
ドクター天馬は
a serial killer. Does he think that, or is this some weird revenge because he thinks that Tenma doesn't like him because he looked at him with contempt? Tenma probably looked at you with disgust because instead of actually, you know, genuinely doing the test yourself, you cheated. And he didn't tell anyone though, which is a sign of, I guess, empathy and understanding at the pressure of being in medical academia. He could have ruined your career and he didn't. So now you're going to sit and ruin his career and then basically be like, well, I mean, his career is kind of over at this point. But I mean, in terms of you're going to like turn him into the police, all for what? Because you actually think he's a serial killer? Is this weird revenge because you don't like being looked at with contempt and you think Tenma looks down on you, that he's better than you? This just screams like weird jealousy and the fact that he's like, oh, he's an interesting creature. I want to be able to treat him like a test subject when you arrest it. Scumbag. Weird little psychoanalyst scumbag.
いいことを教えてやるよ。
No wonder your wife
ケン
left
ト夫人
you.
の
It's
屋敷に
fucking
行ってみよ
weird.
地下の物置だ。そこに行けばあんたにもわかる。怪物がいるという証拠がそこにある。
Interesting. What are
い
they
や
gonna
ー天馬
find?
ああ、ぜひ会いたいね。うん、わかった。じゃ、待ってるよ。コー
He's
ル刑事ですか？
using you.
天馬と約束を取り付けました。夜8時にオーデル公園の噴水前です。
Something's gonna happen to this guy.
私は今、犯行当日のユルゲンスの侵入ルートを検証している。自供によると彼はこの物置に潜入し数時間を過ごした。そして夫人の帰宅直後、2階のベッドルームに押し入り犯行に及んだ。何の変哲もない、ただ写真立てだ。たくさんのケンプ夫人が写っている。
Is his mom. That looks like the criminal guy.
何の異常も見当たらない。ユルゲンスの
As
言
a
う
child
怪
in
物
the
の証拠
photo.
などここにはない。やはり12件目の殺人は捜査攪乱のために行ったのだ。
You didn't look
彼
properly.
はある友人の依頼で行ったと自供している。またその友人を怪物と呼ぶことで
The doll is fucking weird, like, but is there something hidden in the doll? Like in the head or something, or in the back?
母親に毎日折檻された。そこにはお袋の大事にしていたでかい人形が
It was his mom. She abused
髪の
him.
長い女の子の人形だ。俺は叩かれながらその人形に助けを求めた。
So he's taken out his anger and rage on young girls that resemble the doll.
しかもその物置は俺のお袋の写真でいっぱいだった。どこを見てもお袋お袋お袋。
どういうことだ？そのものじゃないか。
So it's like his rage and manifestation at his childhood he exerted on his victims because he saw them as the embodiment of this doll that didn't help him.
これは子供の頃のユルゲンスじゃないか。バカな。子供時代にケンプ夫人との接点はないはずだ。なんだこの写真は。
The sticker?
上からユルゲンスの子供の頃の顔を。これもこれもこれもこれも。
Is the child that was actually in the
子
photo.
供はいなかったはずだ。
She didn't have children, but then who's the children in the photo?
お前は誰なんだ？
Johan. Okay, let me just go back because I feel like I might have misunderstood that. So basically, he was beaten by his mother. But is he telling his story or is he telling the story of someone else? That storage room was filled with photos of my. So he said storage room. This is a basement. So again, two different rooms, but he's recreated the scene down here. So the woman he murdered isn't his mom. So the story is true in terms of he was beaten by his mother and there was this prized doll that he felt was mocking him when he was asking for help, and that probably manifests in him taking his rage out on girls that he feels looks like this prized doll. Because we saw that Johan is a very crafty manipulator in that Johan convinced that guy to kill his adopted parents because he played on the guy's insecurity about him being a child of an affair. Like his mom was a mistress and he had that like frustration and aggravation towards it, but he obviously loved his mom, so he couldn't take it out on his mom, but he obviously felt that like rage and anger. And then there was the sunflower field that he had like fond memories of, and then that was destroyed by was he a mayor or a governor? I can't remember. By the guy that was Johan's father that had basically adopted him and taken him in. And that again was something that like Johan was able to play on, that connection. And then Johan also was saying that like, oh, he is having an affair. I can't be associated with them. Like I need to be freed. They'll never let me free. And it led to this guy actually killing them for Johan because again, he's very charismatic, he's very manipulative, he's able to get into people's heads and make them believe what he wants them to believe, that he is the victim somehow and that they're saving him. And I think that's what he's done with this guy. He's gone, oh yeah, my upbringing's the same as yours, and he's recreated this scenario, got himself like psychologically worked up, and then has attacked this poor woman and killed her because of Johan. So she has no connection to Jurgens, but she has a connection to Johan. Calling it. Because you can see like a little bit of blonde hair.
怪物がいるという証拠がそこにある。
Johan.
俺は友達から来た手紙に書いてある通りにしたんだ。ある日、俺のところに差出人も宛名もない真っ白な封筒の手紙が届いた。俺のことを理解してるだろう。
Because he'd been through the same thing.
それからその手紙は毎週毎週届いた。
Got in his head, convinced
手
him.
紙まで。ところがいつの間にかその手紙が待ち遠しくなった。楽しいんだよその手紙。思ったよ。あいつは本当に友達かもしれないってね。そしてある日、その手紙で呼び出されたんだ。ある屋敷の物置に行ってみろって。
ケンプ夫人の屋敷の物置か。
Oh, he didn't recreate it. Johan recreated
なんで知っ
it
てるんだろう。
about his childhood and got him like emotionally worked up, and then he took it out on Mrs. Kemp.
ケンプ夫人の屋敷で俺は混乱した。 どういうことだ？
He thought Mrs. Kemp was his mother because Johann played this psychological game with it.
気がつ
Fuck!
いたら俺は2階に上がってケンプ夫人を。
That's so
や
screwed.
つは手紙まで。
その友達はケンプ夫人にも手紙を。
The guy wasn't a good guy to begin with, but it's the fact that he knew enough about his childhood to psychologically fuck with his head to make him think that Mrs. Kemp was his mother.
これも
So therefore it broke him in that basement.
僕を見て、僕を見て、僕の中のモンスターがこんなに大きくなったよ。
Johann.
助けて、僕の中のモンスターが破裂しそうだ。
ヨハンの残したメッセージだ。
同じだ。友達は、ヨハンは、実在する。
Yep, yes, he does. But how did Johann learn that information?
来ました。髪の長い東洋人です。
Is it Temba? It is Temba.
忙しいところすまない、ルーディ。
I hope you give
君
him
の
a
言ってい
heads
たこ
up
とを
to
分析し
run.
てみたよ。でっち上げだと思っていた。ヨハンなんてこの世にはいない。君が作り出した架空の人物だとね。今、私はユルゲンスという連続殺人犯を研究しているんだがね。一件だけ彼の手口とは異なる犯行があったんだ。
そんなことより私の話を聞いてくれ。
はいはいはい、今日はこれにて終了
No,
だ。
it's related. You need to listen.
全員に伝えろ。私の合図と同時に取り押さえる。
天馬、君は私を軽蔑していたね。大学時代私がカンニングしているのを見てから、君はずっと私を軽蔑していた。そうだろ？
ドクター・ギーレンと天馬は西口に向かって歩いています。これじゃあ
He's gonna help him get away. He's gonna tell him when they're in the
確
crowd.
かに私は軽蔑されても仕方のない人間だ。覚えているかい？あの時、私はここにカンニングペーパーを潜ませていた。こんな風にね。
逃げろ。警察に囲まれている。
見るな、歩こう。
ドクターは脅されているのか？
Okay, I'm glad he finally saw some sense and he's trying to help Temba. That's because he realizes the true monster that Temba's up against.
ケンプ夫人邸の物置にあったものだ。ケンプ夫人に子供はいなかった。おそらく君の言っていたヨハンとユルゲンスの言っていた友達は同一人物だ。
西口を通過。取り押さえますか？
待て！天馬は銃を持ってるかもしれないんだぞ。
ヨハンのメッセージと同じ文章がケンプ夫人邸にもあった。ヨハンはケンプ夫人のもとに寄生し、用がなくなった夫
He
人を
moves
処
on
分し
from
た。
host to host to
君が
host.
言うように過去を消すためかもしれない。
But then gets rid of witnesses to his
君は
existence.
無実だ。
It's like he's running from something.
今
Like,
更
what
偉
is
そう
he
なことは言え
running
ないが、
from? Why is he so
私が
scared
分
to
析したこ
leave
とを伝えておくよ。
witnesses?
どうやってかはわからないが、ヨハンは殺人者の匂いを嗅ぎ取るとして彼らの孤独に入り込み操ることができる。ヨハンには青年期に寄生した養父母を殺害したケースがまだ見当たらないということだが、
おそらく年齢的にも養父母を必要としなくなったからだと思う。
ヨハンはついに理想の家族を見つけ、そこに入り込んだ。だがなぜ過去を消そうとするんだ？ならば今は何かの目的のためにその家族に入り込んでいるのか？何かのために。さあ、バスターミナルに着いたぞ。
確認しろ！何番のバスに乗るか！
Where's Dieter? Where did he leave Dieter?
天馬、今出頭して身の潔白を証明する道もあるぞ。
They wouldn't believe
私が協
him.
力する。
私は自分の無実を晴らすためにヨハンを追ってるんじゃない。
Chasing after him to put a stop to him
天馬、
harming any more
君はまさ
innocent
か
people.
ヨハンを。
ああ、そうだ。私は君を軽蔑なんかしてなかった。面白そうなやつだと思っていたが、いい機会がなかった。でも、やっとこれで友達になれたな。
だって君はあの時私のカンニング行為を、確かに君は顔を上げてこっちを見て。
私もあの時、カンニングしてたんだよ。
They both cheated.
お題でバスがほぼ同時に出
They
発
could
した
have
の
been
か！
friends. All these years he thought Temba hated him and was blaming him, but they were both cheating. Oh, that's so funny. I never thought Temma would be the one to cheat though, but that's because we kind of hold Temma on like this moral high ground. I did think it was to do with like weird petty jealousy, but I'm glad that he finally did come to this realization that it's not Temba, because I was like, yeah, I don't know how you jumped into thinking that Temba's made this up to run from his responsibilities. Also, you knew Temba, so I think some of it was maybe fueled by his own sort of resentment towards Temba, because all these years he thought Temba didn't like him, and then this new student comes in from Japan. He's very charismatic and he does really well, and knocked him off of his top spot. You would be a bit pissed off. But this idea of Johan erasing the past, it just raises questions as to why. What is he erasing the past for? Who is he running from that he's so scared that they're going to track him down? Because if you're so content on erasing the past, it's to erase any trace of you, because you worry that whoever you've been associated with might confess who you really are or where you've come from. There's something deeper here. He's covering up. That's not to say that he's not a monster. He is. He's manipulating people to murder people. He's not exempt, but I do want to know what's driving him. And again, I have said it a few times. I think it is something traumatic has happened to him in his childhood, because he says to Jurgens, I'm like you. And you could write that off as he's just saying that to make that connection so that he can get in his head and then utilize him for his own plan to murder Mrs. Kemp. Or you can see it almost as sort of a confession that they are alike in that they think the same, they act the same, but they both have had traumatic upbringings that have made them into these monsters. Because Jurgens doesn't shake off the term monster. He says that he is one, but also Johan is too. I think anyone that kills people, it's kind of hard not to argue that they're not a monster. It's monstrous, it's a horrible act. But we also do need to have not forgiveness. See, whenever I say empathy, people always seem to jump to this idea that it means forgiving them. There's no forgiving them, there's no letting them get away with what they've done. But empathy in terms of wanting to understand why someone ends up that way. Because again, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Something has made someone into the monster that they are. And when I say empathy, it's about getting into their head and dissecting their childhood to understand why. And yes, not every person that has gone through trauma ends up being a serial killer or ends up being a monster. That is categorically true. But those that do end up harming others because of trauma, because of abuse, we have to have empathy insofar as we want to understand what drove someone to that point. Not empathy in terms of forgiveness, but empathy in terms of putting ourselves in their shoes and trying to understand how such a childhood, such abuse would twist your perspective of the world. And Johan's view of the world is very twisted in that he treats families like a host animal, that they can only offer him so much. And then once he has fed from them enough, he moves on to the next one. But then he's erasing his path. And as he said, it could be because he's found the perfect family and that he doesn't need to kill any future family because the right one came along that's offering him the security and protection that he has always been wanting. But that doesn't stop him from erasing the people that looked after him when he was younger. This trail all is connected to younger Johan. So adult Johan is getting rid of this trail so that it doesn't exist, almost as if older Johan is scared of who might follow this trail. Maybe he's had a run-in with someone that is tracking this trail and he's terrified of them. And I know we talk about how he doesn't feel emotions the way that we do. He doesn't feel fear the way that we do. He's fascinated by fear. But to me, all these actions scream fear to some degree. There is something worse than Johan out there that is causing him to want to erase his past by killing anyone that could bear witness to his existence, to having had contact with him, so that somebody can't piece that together to find him now as an adult. Why? So if Johan is a monster, who made Johan into a monster? Someone worse than Johan. And that's the true fascinating aspect of all of this. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!